The MCAT Cars Podcast, session number 40. The cars section of the MCAT gives thousands of pre-meds nightmares every night. Whether you're an ESL student, lack confidence while reading, or a slow reader like me, Jack Weston and the medical school headquarters are here to help you score higher in every section so you can be confident you're ready to get the MCAT score of your dreams. Now, welcome to the MCAT Cars Podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, and as always, I'm joined by Jack Weston from jackweston.com. If you are struggling with your cars prep, your MCAT prep in general, and you're looking for some free help, go to jackweston.com and sign up for his free cars passages right in your email inbox every day. Now, I get these every day, and I look at them, and I'm like, wow, these are hard. But I know from talking to students that they are realistic, and they will help you because the MCAT car section needs a lot of practice. And that's what you'll get every day right in your email inbox from jackweston.com. Let's go ahead and jump in and cover another passage today. Jack Weston back for some more MCAT Cars podcast. I want to know, after last week's podcast, have you gone out for a Marvel Cinematic Universe marathon for 39 hours?
I can't say I have. I'm looking forward to watching Spider-Man, the cartoon one that you mentioned, and potentially the new one. I think the new one just came out too.
Yeah, it's been getting some rave reviews, so I'm excited to see that one as soon as I can. With two little ones, going to the movies is usually last on the list, unfortunately.
Right.
All right, what do we have in store for us today?
Pretty basic passage, very straightforward. So I don't think it's going to be very hard to read. Nothing too challenging today. It's going to be a very easy read, hopefully.
Okay.
We'll see if the language might confuse some students, but I don't think it will. It seems very straightforward.
Okay. I'm glancing at it now as you're talking, and I'm like, ooh, I like some of these things. So I'm excited. And as always, you should just always be open-minded and just be excited to learn something if you're not excited about the overall topic. So
yeah, that's it.
All right. Paragraph 1. Once upon a time, offices had walls inside them. Okay. So it's interesting. I'm picturing like an office, like a single office with walls inside of them. I'm like, well, are there like, is it like the one office broken down into smaller offices? Or it sounds like the author is saying, hey, like an office building has walls inside of them.
Right. I think it's referring to the office buildings, but we'll see.
We'll see. They weren't glass like the conference rooms of 2019, but were made of drywall and were usually painted a neutral color, like many of the walls you know and love. All right. So the author is painting this picture of conference rooms of 2019 of being glass, and previously they were neutral painted drywall.
Okay.
Over time, office walls gave way to cubicles. So again, just more description of offices. We had these cubicles.
Right. And now let's try to break down what gave way means.
Yeah.
Office walls gave way to cubicles. That might confuse some students. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So I think if we were in this kind of timeline that this author is setting up, we had walls, right? I think everyone knows what walls are. And then walls were removed to make room for cubicles.
Exactly. So we replaced. Gave way kind of means replace.
Okay. Now, for many office workers, the cubicles are also gone. All right. So now we're left with nothing. We don't have walls. We don't have cubicles. We have nothing. There are only desks. All right. So at least we have a place to work. So this author, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
So I was going to say the author basically here is saying, or giving a timeline of a progression of offices. We once had offices with walls, and then we had offices with cubicles, and now it seems like the author is just saying, hey, we have a big room with desks.
I mean, you said it earlier, right? Embrace what you're reading.
Yeah.
Right. Take it in. And now you might not be interested in how offices evolved over time, but you need to find some interest in what you're reading. And the best way to do that is to visualize it.
Yep.
try to sense what it looks like to have walls in an office, and then glass, and then, cubicles and whatever they were talking about, right? I mean, it's walls to cubicles to none, basically. And you could probably think about some kind of area where there are no walls or cubicles, right? There's just desks everywhere, kind of like a library, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might want to visualize what a library looks like, where you have a bunch of people sitting around desks that are open around you.
Okay. Next paragraph. If you're under 40, you might have never experienced the joy of walls at work. All right. So interesting sentence here, giving kind of a timeline if you're under 40. And then the experienced the joys of walls at work, I think would potentially confuse people. Like, well, what's there to experience? What's there to be joy about? Is this sarcasm? Is this not, etc.?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But maybe because today's offices have no walls, maybe the author is kind of yearning for the past, right? Like maybe walls are okay to have. Like we enjoyed them in the past. Like we should have had them. We should still have them. Or maybe, the author is being sarcastic, right? And so, and in any ways, this is sarcasm. But, maybe the author is trying to point out that walls are not that great. That, you really don't want walls. We don't know yet until we keep reading. But you definitely sense that the author is leaning towards one direction. We don't know which direction that is, but we'll see in a second.
In the late 1990s, open offices started to catch on among influential employers, especially those in the booming tech industry. All right, so kind of a time frame here, 90s, open offices. I think my assumption is that that's the definition of kind of having no cubicles and no walls, and giving an example here of the tech industry kind of doing it.
Most important two words here, open offices, right? So like you said, open offices is no walls, having no walls, having no cubicles, right? So they're using a different term here to describe this. And you have to pick up on that as you read quickly, right? You don't have time to reread this and think about whether or not it means that. You have to know it as you read it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The pitch from designers was twofold. Physically separating employees wasted space and therefore money, and keeping workers apart was bad for collaboration. So now we have a potential reason for open offices, right? Why did we do this? Other companies emulated the early adopters. All right, so the author is saying, hey, these early adopters he mentioned in the second paragraph, or the second sentence here, is the tech industry. And then the author is saying other companies started to do it as well. In 2017, a survey estimated that 68% of American offices had low or no separation between workers. All right, so we're given a survey here, 68%. So we're given kind of the impact or the expanse of open offices in America.
Right, and it's popular.
Yeah. Okay. Next paragraph. Now that open offices are the norm, their limitations have become clear. All right, so it seems like a very classic article where it's like, okay, here's a topic, here's one angle of it, and I'm going to show you another angle. And so the author now is saying, okay, previously we said, hey, these designers said that it's a waste of space and we're keeping workers apart, but now I'm going to set you up and potentially show you how they're bad.
That is a common way passages work.
Yeah.
They establish what's going on. Oh, we're going from walls to no walls. Now we're going to talk about how that's great. And now we're going to talk about how it's bad.
Yep.
Right. So very, very common. They set the scene in the first paragraph, describe maybe it's, how it's okay. And then they talk about why it's bad. Now I have a question for you, Ryan.
Yep.
Why would they do that? Why would they bring up positives only to maybe go to the to the opposite direction, the negative side?
So in my mind, if I were to guess, it's potentially the author wanting to anchor kind of our thoughts around the good, and then to really point out his or her thoughts that they're not good.
Right. So an anchor is great. So it's kind of relative,
Mhm.
right? So you kind of have a perspective. Uh, what about what about students who go, well, why couldn't the author just tell us that it's bad? Right? Like why do you have to tell us it's good? Because if I read it's good, then I might get confused. Why can't you just tell us it's bad so I know that, you don't like walls or no walls? Like that you do like walls.
Yeah, I think it's good for the author, for anybody, right? We even talk about this when you're interviewing for medical school. You want to be able to talk about both sides and not just think that you're completely one-sided.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's making the author seem more reasonable.
Yep.
But if you're not, you're not open to that, you don't see that, you don't know that, then you may get confused. You may go, well, what wasn't the author saying it's a good thing, right? Wasn't the author saying that it leads to more collaboration and it saves money and costs and stuff? Yeah, but you got to remember the author says that stuff only because they want to seem more reasonable. They want to seem less biased when they go on and probably end up saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? Research indicates that removing partitions is actually much worse for collaborative work and productivity than closed offices ever were. All right. So now the author is saying, hey, we have research that shows that removing these partitions is bad. And if you think about the previous paragraph, it's the designers that were saying, hey, this is bad. And so, but now we have research that potentially refutes that.
Okay.
But something as expensive and logistically complicated as an office design is difficult to walk back. So, as Jeff Goldblum wisely intones in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. All right. So, kind of a complicated sentence here. Basically saying, hey, office design to walk back. And so to try to understand what that means, kind of to bring back to the way it was, right? It's going to be expensive and logistically complicated. But apparently life will find a way.
Right. And life suggests that you need walls, right? Yep. Like life finds a way. That means walls find a way, right? In a way. So you can walk backwards in a way, in a sense. Okay.
In offices where there are no walls, millions of workers have embraced a workaround to reclaim a little bit of privacy. Wireless headphones. All right. Eureka. So basically, this is an article to sell wireless headphones. No, I don't know. So the author is saying, hey, because to go back and put walls back in offices, it's expensive, logistically complicated. It's probably maybe not going to happen, but here are what people are doing. They're wearing headphones.
Exactly. And that kind of simulates the whole wall experience, right? Headphones somehow. We don't know exactly how, but probably it separates us in some ways.
Yep. Okay. New paragraph. The arrival of these now ubiquitous devices have ushered in a new era of office etiquette and created a whole new set of problems. All right. So, the author is basically saying, hey, these wireless headphones are ubiquitous, meaning they're kind of everywhere now. Ushered in a new era of office etiquette. Don't really know what that etiquette is at this point, but apparently it's creating new problems.
Yeah, sounds good. So it's a new way of working, right? Mm-hmm. And it might be a problem in some ways.
Yep. Okay. Next paragraph. Unlike their tethered forebears, Bluetooth wireless headphones are convenient because they allow workers to forget they're wearing a device and to leave their desk without yanking their laptop onto the floor. Been there, done that. All right. So basically the author is saying, hey, we have Bluetooth wireless headphones and they are convenient. And yeah, that's it. They're convenient. Okay. In open offices, people commonly wander around with their headphones on all day, into bathrooms and kitchens, sometimes listening to nothing at all in order to avoid the constant distraction of compulsory social interaction. All right. So the author, again, just pointing out what is happening in these offices. People just wearing their headphones all day long. Sometimes because they're listening to something, and sometimes because they want to avoid people.
Right. I mean, they just want to get that wall back, right? In a
Yep.
way, they're kind of bringing that wall back by having headphones on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Next paragraph. We have Apple to thank for wireless headphones. We have Apple to thank for wireless headphones proliferation. All right. Yes. As an owner of Apple AirPods, I would like to thank Apple. All right. So proliferation, again, just for someone who may not understand that word, just kind of becoming more and more popular, right? Being everywhere.
Right. Yes.
The tech giant launched its tiny white AirPods in late 2016 to accompany new iPhones that lacked a traditional headphone jack. All right. So just a little history lesson on AirPods and why they came out and when. Despite initial concern that having two plastic sticks poking out of your ears might look insurmountably lame, AirPods have avoided the demise of other wearable tech such as Google Glass by being immediately useful. All right, so the author basically saying, hey, the people were worried that it looked bad, but because they're useful, they are popular. Industry analysts estimate that tens of millions of pairs of AirPods have been sold already, accounting for as much as 85% of the wireless headphone market. So just giving some numbers about how popular they are. The earbuds even star in ultra-viral videos and TikTok memes as a jokey symbol of wealth among teens. All right, so this last paragraph is interesting, just kind of basically saying Apple made wireless headphones much more popular because they're so useful.
Yeah, and it gets confusing. Why do we end up with talking about Apple?
I have no idea. I'm trying to, we're talking about open offices and the good, the bad, and then all of a sudden we're talking about Apple.
Yeah. So what's the point? What's the point of all this? What's the main idea? What do you think?
If I were to include the last paragraph, I think the main idea, or the last two paragraphs, the main idea is that we, as a society, the office workers are now tied to wireless headphones all day because they miss their walls.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's really it. Like, you just have to realize that wireless headphones are kind of a response, right, to this changing office condition, right? So they have wireless headphones to kind of bring back that office that they missed, right? The changing offices that they have, they basically are a response to that. But they're also kind of changing the office because we went from wired to wireless, and now we're talking specifically about the different kinds of Bluetooth wireless kind of headphones we have.
Yep.
So it's all about wireless headphones and how they kind of change the office, or how it's a response to office conditions, and how they can actually change the office in some ways because they're wireless.
Okay. All right. So we have a question here. I love these questions. All right. So our question is, for which of the following conclusions does the passage offer the most support? All right. So A, new technology tends to make workers less productive, not more. I would probably cross that one out pretty quickly. I don't remember anything about that. B, in the future, open offices will become less common. That's an interesting one that I'll keep on the table for now. C, workers work better when they have some time to themselves. Oh, that's interesting. And D, many companies provide Apple AirPods to their employees. I think that would be awesome if they did. So I'm going to throw out A and D right away. And then B and C are where I'm at right now. So for B, if we break down B, we have research that says that open offices are bad for collaboration and productivity. And so I could potentially say that the passage would support that we're going to have less and less open offices. I could potentially get there. So I'm going to keep that one higher up on the table. And then C, workers work better when they have some time to themselves. The time to themselves doesn't necessarily mean walls, no walls or anything. And I don't remember reading anything about just having time to themselves other than they avoided social interaction. So I'm going to go with B because C just is a little bit too much of a stretch for me. So I'm going to go with B for this one.
Okay. So I think you were great in killing A and D.
Yep.
Off the bat. But let's try to understand the question.
Okay.
So it's saying, which of the following conclusions
Yep.
does the passage offer the most support? Conclusions.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be directly stated in the passage.
Yep.
It's something that we conclude. It's something that we can kind of derive in a way.
Yep.
So you're right in thinking, well, which one of these can I derive?
Yep.
But if you try too hard, you're going to miss the point of the passage. So the key here is to not try so hard. Think about which one was discussed and pick the one that was more likely discussed. So even though none of these were necessarily, we don't mention B, we don't mention C directly.
Yep.
Which one is more likely to be discussed by the author? Remember, we're reading this for the author's sake. With A, new technology tends to make workers less productive, not more. If anything, we said the opposite, right?
Yep.
That the earbuds or the headphones are actually helping them, right? They're trying to get back to that sense of silence, right, that they had. So they want to go back to being alone. So it's not actually a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. So that's kind of contradicting the whole point of this passage. New technology is not making them less productive. It's making them more productive, right? That's where they're putting on headphones. Now you may think, oh, well, what about the new technology about no walls? That's not new technology. That's just a new design. That's not really technology.
Yep.
So A wouldn't make sense here. Let's go to D before we go to B and C. So D, many companies provide Apple AirPods to their employees. That's obviously something that we cannot conclude. We can't conclude that companies will end up supporting this new way of doing things just because the author said that, many of these people are wearing headphones does not suggest that companies are going to go off and buy AirPods for their employees. That's not something we can bring up. And that's actually kind of a play on the last paragraph because we know you read the last paragraph and we know you saw AirPods. So we're hoping that you'll, read AirPods and just, kind of, quickly and without thinking pick D because you remembered AirPods, right? But we cannot, D is way too much of a stretch because first of all, we do not suggest that AirPods are necessarily the remedy for every single company, right? And second of all, we don't know if they're going to provide AirPods or some other kind of Bluetooth device, right? If they are, if anything. So we just brought it up as an example. So it can't be A, it can't be D. Now it's down to B and C. B, in the future, open offices will become less common. Okay. So that's just saying what, Ryan? It's basically saying that they don't have open offices anymore.
Yep.
But did we actually bring up that point? I mean, we did say open offices are bad. We said that.
Yep.
But did we say that going back to the other kinds of those, the older kinds of offices? If anything, they said it's hard to do.
Yep.
Right. So instead, the author proposes that we're bringing that condition back by wearing headphones. So B, in a way, contradicts the author's point. The author is not making a point that we're going back, right? That's not a conclusion we can make because we're basically suggesting that it's a problem and we need to fix this problem, and we do so through headphones. But we don't necessarily fix the problem by going back to closed offices, right? By making open offices less common. That's way too much of a stretch. The author never presents that as a point that could happen, right? Now, and I'll talk about why C is better. Workers work better when they have some time to themselves. We don't say that directly either, but the author did suggest that open offices leads to less collaboration, right? Or more distraction in a way. I'm sorry. Said something about the fact that, we're essentially not working as hard as we can, right? So I think it was in paragraph 3, it says research indicates that removing partitions is actually much worse for collaborative work and productivity than closed offices ever were. So it's bad for our productivity. right? And we can assume it's probably because, we are in a way spending too much time with other people, right? It's open offices. So having time to themselves is something that can happen simply because we're avoiding people throughout the passage. The whole point of headphones were that they allow us to bring back the closed conditions, right? And in a way where in the fourth paragraph, it suggests that we're not listening to anything to avoid the constant distraction of compulsory social interaction. So we're trying to avoid social interaction. And that suggests that we're probably better off working by ourselves, right? And that's why C is better, because it's more directly tied to the passage. It's a common misconception to think, oh, well, if open offices are bad, then maybe they don't want open offices anymore, right? That's how most people will think, right? That maybe we're going to go back to closed offices, how open offices won't be around. But we never bring up that. We never say that. But we do say that as a response to having open offices, right, we end up using headphones. And headphones, in a way, are associated to a reduction of distractions, right? It reduces social interaction. So that suggests that, in a way, we want to be alone. And that's why C is better. It's more directly tied to the arguments or the ideas of the passage.
All right.
Any other questions about that, Ryan?
I don't think so. No, it's a great thorough explanation. Which
cool. So the key here, and this is where a lot of students go wrong, is do not look at an answer and start justifying why it could be right. If you do that, you're going to mess up. Instead, look at the answers that you're stuck on and think, which one would the author go with? Which one sounds like something the author would say? And that will usually lead you to the better answer here.
All right, there you have it. Another passage for you covering the cars section, breaking down each paragraph, really trying to understand what is going on. If you want some more of these passages, let me know. Ryan at medicalschoolhq.net. Don't forget to go check out jackweston.com, see how he can help you with your cars prep. And remember, learning how to do well on the car section will help you with every section of the MCAT, because what it comes down to is comprehending what you're reading and trying to understand what the test writers are trying to get you to understand as well. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the MCAT Cars Podcast.
This is MedEd Media.